Today in Flex in the City, we talk to Denise Thomas, COO Investment Vector, Aberdeen. Being the best version of you is so critical to service, support, and success. All that happening right now in Flex and the City.
Hello, everybody. This is Rachel Treese for Flex and the City. And today I am in Scotland with Denise Thomas. And she is the Chief Operating Officer of Investment Vector for Aberdeen. Denise, pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
I'd love to know a little bit more about yourself because we share quite a lot in common. So you grew up in Edinburgh. So tell me a little bit about your growing up and how you came to be working at Aberdeen, Denise.
Of course, yes. So I grew up in a Muirhouse Council estate in Edinburgh. That's where I started my life and went to school there. Grew up with my sister and my parents. My mum's was a full-time working mum, and my dad obviously full-time working. So grandparents helped look after us, as happens with many families. After leaving school, I went to university, and I was the first generation of my family to head off to university. So I went to Heriot-Watt University to study accountancy and finance. Yeah. Quite unique, maybe in a way, or maybe a bit unusual, is that I knew from about the age of 14 that I wanted to be an accountant. So I'm not sure what that says about me, but I had that in my head. Wow. That's what I wanted to do. So I was quite firm in what I was going to study at school and do for my hires. So I even my part-time job, I worked in Safeway's food stores, as it was called then. It's now changed hands several times. And I started off in the checkouts and then went to work in the cash office because I loved numbers and I loved working and all of that. So studied at university where I met my husband, actually. I met my husband when I worked at Safeway. So we started dating when we were 18, which was a long time ago. So yeah, and then went on to work in Safeway, study at Heriot-Watt, and then knew that I wanted to train to be a chartered accountant. But to a slightly different route. I didn't train with one of the big accountancy firms. I trained in industry through the TOP scheme, which still exists today, which was a bit different as well. So I started my career at Scottish Power, working in utilities, did their graduate scheme, qualified to be an accountant there, worked in internal audit, and sort of got great exposure to all different parts of the electricity sort of process, which I didn't know an awful lot about until that point in time. Then next I went to move and work in Scottish Water. So did some work in the sort of water and sewage industry. So again, still in the utility sort of industry, which again, a bit different. And then did a stint as a management consultant working with EY, and did that up until I had my daughter. And then when I was about to come back to maternity leave, I thought the life of a consultant traveling the world didn't go too well with a small child. So I moved into financial services for a better work-life balance and as a career opportunity, because I knew that somewhere that the skills I had were transferable, but coming into somewhere like financial services, I would be able to go down a different angle. And then for the last 22, almost 23 years, I've worked in financial services doing a variety of different roles. Started off doing fund accounting. I've been involved in regulatory reporting. I've been involved in looking after our workplaces, our third-party supplier relationships, a whole wide variety of different activities over the 23 years almost.
Wow. And how have you juggled being, a mother and being a leader? How have you managed to juggle that over the years?
And I think, the key to always a lot of these things is having a very supportive husband as well. So we always managed, drop-offs and pick-offs between us. I'm quite an organised person. I like to be super, super organised. So, the night before, everyone's clothes were laid out, the packed lunches were made and everything was all ready. But I think when you're trying to juggle, being a working mum, nursery, school drop-offs, helping with homework and things, and being organised really, really made the difference. And I've always made sure that I've always been very open that I'm a working mum, that that people knew I would take half days to go into school and help out. I didn't want that my daughter would feel that my mummy works, so she doesn't come in and help. So Friday afternoons, I would take half days and go in and help with arts and crafts, or make sure I would go on the class trips and things. So try to get that really good balance and just make sure that, because you do spend a lot of time I did anyway, feeling guilty when I was at work that I wasn't with my daughter. And then if I was with my daughter, feeling guilty, should be doing stuff with work. But I think you just have to make sure that you're, for me, it was being organised, being planned, and having great support around me from, my parents, my husband's parents, and my husband as well.
Fantastic. And so right now at work and in life, what motivates you? What are your core values and what's the purpose underpinning, you getting out of bed every day?
No, I think for me, I've always wanted to make a difference, no matter how small that difference is. It's really important to me that I feel that I'm adding value, that I'm doing the right thing, and what I'm doing is making a difference. Even if it's a small difference, I just always want to be doing that. For me, that's really always been important, that I'm there. I know lots of people say this, but I am a people person. So I get all my energy from being around people and helping and speaking to people and sharing ideas. So that's what, I love that buzz. I love being there and being me and being authentic and true.
And in your career today, there must have been lots of leaders, either in utilities or in financial services, Denise. Who's been the most inspiring leader you come across? So I'm curious.
Yeah, it's funny. I wouldn't say there was a single person. I've through the years always looked at different people's styles and said, oh, I quite like how they do that, or different things like that. And this is definitely maybe a bit different. One of the real sort of, and it's not a real person, it's a fictional character, but certainly, and again, some of the listeners may be aware of this show, but the show called Madam Secretary, which is an American show. Yeah, an American show. It's a fantastic show. And Elizabeth McCord is Madam Secretary and then becomes Madam President. But when I started watching that show, her leadership style just really struck a chord with me. She was a working mum, but she was a strong leader, but she cared about people. She always wanted to do the right thing. She wasn't afraid of making the difficult decisions, but she thought about the impacts and what it meant for different people. And it was a lovely, nice new style, because a lot of time in TV shows, female leaders were very much, big shoulder pads and, trying to be, this is how it should be done and really, bossy. But she did it in a much more authentic way. So I started watching the show and then just found that, Elizabeth McCord was my new true inspiration and what I felt made a great leader, even though she's not real.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And my intuition tells me, you are a leader that embraces your female energy. Do you want to tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the things that, when I was growing up and when I was looking at leaders, it was people like Margaret Thatcher that were female icons, or women who had big shoulder pads and were very much trying to be quite masculine. And that, I tried that for about a day and it just wasn't me, because I wasn't being authentic and it didn't feel right. So I wanted to always make sure that I was being the best version of me, that I was being, the type of leader that I wanted to be. Early in my career, people would say to me, oh, you're too mothering, you're mothering people, you can't be like that. And then I would try to not be like that, but that wasn't me. So I think it's really important that, to be, a leader and hope that people would follow you, you have to be authentic and true. And so I want to be me. If I feel sad, I'll tell people I feel sad. I'm quite open about my, my emotions and things. And again, thankfully, the world's in a place now where people can be like that, rather than having to suppress it and just always be very stoic and yes, I'll take care of that. So I think for me, I do care about people. The first question I ask people when I sit down to have meetings is, how are you doing? How's the family? I love to know about people, because I think the more that I understand people that I'm working with, then the more that we get better results, because we're understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses and what makes people tick. So yeah, for me, that's really, really important, that I can turn up to work and be my full self. I can be me, and I can encourage other people to be that way as well and support other female leaders. A lot of time in the past, and especially in my earlier part of my career, there was very few female leaders that were in senior roles, and there was two types. There was types that helped other females climb the ladder, and then there was the ones that pulled the ladder up behind them and quite liked being that I'm the only female in the room. And for me, it's really, really important that I help other females earlier in their career, or even doesn't matter what your gender is, just help other people to become better people, better people leaders, and grow as we all can.
So talking about other females, your daughter, how old is she now?
Yeah, Megan is just turned 23. Yes, so my little girl, I keep saying little girl, but she's, towers over me, but she's still my little girl.
She's 23. And does she know what you do?
Absolutely, yeah. No, she very much knows what I do. In fact, Megan is kind of following in my footsteps. She's training to be a chartered accountant as well. She works for one of the big accountancy firms, and I would be surprised if when she was young, if I ever thought she would actually want to be an accountant, but she absolutely does, and is training at the moment. And I've always, one of the things that, because I was a working mum, I always wanted to make sure that was blended. So Megan, knows a lot about financial services, and I've not put her off. So that's a big plus. So she came in and did work experience. A lot of kids do that with going to their parents' work, but people were amazed how much she knew about financial services, because I would talk to her about different things, so she would understand, what stocks exchanges were, and what markets were moving and things. So it's my whole family become part of my part of my career with me. But I think that's really important to get that blend. So Megan's very much aware of what I do. And it's great actually, because I've heard her talk to her friends and explain to them about that. So, things like, how important it is to have a pension. Megan was telling all her friends how important it was when you were young to start investing, and what ISAs were and how they should have them. So I think for me, that's really inspirational.
It's wonderful to hear. So if you were advising Megan, or a young person starting in financial services, or even a 23-year-old version of Denise, what advice would you give them? What would be your best advice to a young leader?
I mean, I absolutely think that the best advice I would give myself if I went back was, make sure you're being the best version of you. Don't try to be someone else, because it really, you really get caught out. And I suppose it's back to that being an authentic leader, but just be the best version of you. And this is advice, that I definitely wish I'd given myself. Don't worry about what other people think about you too much. You tend to worry quite a lot about, what are people thinking? What if I wear this? What if I say that? I think it's just being the best version of you, and don't be afraid to be the best version of you, because that took me a long time to realise that.
Absolutely. So a couple of years ago, I wrote an article about why our kids don't want to be bankers. What do you think the industry as a whole, as a collective, needs to do to attract more talent to this great industry?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I think we have to get right deep into the schools and catch that talent when it's young, and let people know what fantastic career opportunities there are in investments and in financial services. People tend to think, it's a bit like they've watched Wall Street or, The Big Short, or they've watched TV shows and they get the completely wrong impression. And there's fantastic career opportunities within financial services. People can train to be lawyers, accountants, marketing, human resources. There's so many different opportunities. So I absolutely think it's really important to get into schools and educate, people young, so they understand, but you've got to do it in a way that makes sense to them, using their language, using the tools that they're used to. Kids nowadays, and I live my life on my iPhone and my iPad. So it's actually making sure that we can encourage kids to learn more about money, help educate them on things like, we talked about pensions or ISAs or savings, and just that kids understand at an early age. And I think that the more that they understand what it's like, absolutely then encourages them to come in. Certainly, I've been a big supporter of our sort of next generation programs that we have at work. And looking at how we bring in people, whether it be through sort of school leaver schemes, so people who haven't gone on to university or don't know what they want to do, we bring them in for a year and give them experience of financial services. Whether it's through things like Career Ready program, where we mentor school children and help them, come in again and give them 4 weeks work experience just to understand. So I think it's about reaching out to different parts of the community, reaching out to different people from different backgrounds, and letting them know that, that it's not really like what you see on the television, and there's some really fulfilling and different career opportunities for you.
So it's not Wolf of Wall Street anymore.
Not anymore, sadly, or no, thankfully.
So if you were Madam Secretary and you could wave a magic wand that could change financial services, what would change, Denise?
I mean, I think we're on this journey, but I'd like to make it happen quicker. So I would wave my magic wand to get more diversity and inclusion throughout financial services. I think the industry's come a long way. But I think what we really need is a lot of that diversity of thought. So people from different backgrounds, whether that be people coming from a complete different career change, but women returners, ex-armed forces people, people from different social backgrounds, different education backgrounds. I think the more different backgrounds and different cultures we bring together, the different ways people think, I think you end up with better results because people think differently. So for me, it would be getting that diversity and inclusion journey further down the track by waving my magic wand and bringing in lots of different people from different backgrounds.
Fantastic. And do you think, Denise, I mean, you're in investment, but do you think financial services is doing enough to connect with new generations as investors and potential employees?
I think they're doing more than they were, but there's always definitely room to do much more of that. And I think there's lots of great things, and you can do that through a whole variety of different ways. So I think it's important that, whether it be, going into schools and talking about what you do in career days, or attracting, young investors, or helping people with, education programs, or just trying to attract that different kind of audience. I actually think there's a lot more we can do, and whether that be spending time through different outreach stuff, or even through some of the different charity work that lots and lots of financial services, have charity partners and get involved in different activities. So I think the more that you can get your name out there, the better absolutely it would be for the industry.
And talking about charity, Denise, I know that outside of financial services that you're involved in charity work. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that and what that is?
Yeah, of course, yes. So when my daughter was going off to university, we'd not long moved to a new village, and I was keen to get involved with people and make sure that I wasn't, when she was off at uni, just working, because that's an easy trap to fall into. So I started volunteering with a local charity up here in Scotland called Kids Love Clothes. And what we do is we support local communities, so people across Edinburgh and the Lothians. We get donations of what we call pre-loved clothes, so clothes that children have grown out of that are in, still in great quality, shoes, books and toys. And we take them and we launder them and we iron them and we package them up in lovely little gift bags so that they look like they're brand new toys or brand new clothing. And then we work through a referrals, so from either health visitors, social workers, or other charities, things like domestic violence charities, or various different things. And we get referrals for children from age 0 up to sort of 12 to 13 who are in need of clothes or books or toys, and we provide them to the local communities. So it's so fulfilling. I mean, I think it's really great to be able to give a little bit back and take sort of the business skills and the things that I learned through working in financial services to help small charities, because this is a fantastic small charity it's entirely run by volunteers. We don't have any staff. So, it was great to be able to bring helping them with their financials, their accounts, putting things like policies and procedures in place and help get their name out there a little bit as well. So I love doing that. Very passionate about it, as you can probably tell.
I can absolutely hear. So what would your invitation be to other leaders? I mean, everybody thinks of changing the world and nobody thinks of changing themselves. What is your invitation for leaders in the industry?
I think absolutely get involved in your local communities. It doesn't have to be, we change the world one step at a time. It can be, give a couple of hours up, to a local charity. They might need some help with applying for grant funding, or they might need some help with someone to help them set up new bank accounts, or whatever it may be. I would just say, encourage people to reach out. One of the things that makes a big difference to the work, my little charity that I work with, is a lot of corporates have used their sort of staff volunteering days to come out and help us sort through clothes and iron clothes and things like that. And it's a great way for teams to team build, but it means such a lot to us. If someone gives us an hour of their time, it's invaluable. So it doesn't need to be a big time. I would encourage people to reach out because it's fantastic. You get such a great feeling from helping and a great buzz. I have met lifelong friends from doing this, from different backgrounds that I would maybe not have met before. So I would really encourage people to reach out and help local communities and large charities as well. But, some of these local ones really don't get as much support as they would love.
Denise Thomas, I just want to acknowledge you for showing up the way that you do, so authentically. I'd heard about you before I interviewed you. It was all absolutely fabulous, and now I know completely why. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today and sharing your story on Flex in the City.
Thank you so much. It's been great.
You just listened to Flex in the City. Catch us on our next episode.